Hello lovely people, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, I'm Ada Uju. I do videos on sewing tutorials, sewing tips, sewing tricks and fashion business tips. A lot of people see princess darts and they're like, it's so hard to cut, I don't understand how to place my dart. No, it is not hard to cut. It's actually very simple to cut, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make your very own princess dart pattern. Because you know that with patterns life is just easier, sewing is easier, cutting is easier, and I want to show you the easiest way, the simplest way and the fastest way to go about drafting your very own princess dart pattern. Are you excited? Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let's go.
Here's the pattern paper I'm starting with. The length of the pattern paper is 21 inches. I've gone ahead to mark my bust point at 8 inches, my dart point at 9 inches, and my under bust point at 13.5 inches. So I'm just going to place my tape on the paper so you understand. So that's my bust point at 8 inches, that's my dart point at 9 inches, and my under bust point at 13.5 inches. Then the length of my pattern paper is 21 inches. So to mark my neckline, I'm going to mark it 4 by 4. That's 4 inches for the neck depth and 4 inches for the neck width, and I'm going to connect them together. When I draft my patterns, I like to work with rulers and also my hand as well, because sometimes I notice that if I'm working with the French curve I make mistakes. So if you're having that issue, just work with your hand and ruler as well. So from the center I'm going to extend my tape backwards and I'm going to mark 9.5 inches. Now my shoulder is 8.5 inches, but I added 1 more inch because I'll need it to shape out the shoulder point. Okay, so from the top of the 9.5 inches mark I'm going to go down by ½ an inch and I'm going to draw my shoulder slant. Okay, I'm going to draw my shoulder slant, then I'm going to insert my armhole curve. Okay, so like I said, I work with my hands first before I go ahead to smoothen it out with my ruler. So I've inserted my shoulder curve. You can see how beautiful it looks. Okay, now from the center, okay, I'm going to mark my dart point. So from the center I marked 4 inches for the width of my dart, and I'm going to do this till the end of the pattern paper. Okay, so you guys notice that I didn't start marking the dart at the 8 inches point. I started marking at the 9 inches point because in a normal day you pick your dart from the 9 inches point. Okay, so when I was done doing that, I connected my markings with a straight line. It's just very simple. Then the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do is I'm going to insert the princess seam, and I like to go down by 3 inches from my shoulder point. I went down by 3 inches from my shoulder point and I kind of inserted, I just drew the princess seam in. Some people do this with their French curve, but I like to do it with my hand because most of the times I try doing it with my French curve, it doesn't always turn out well. I don't always like the shape, so I started with my hand. Before, when I got the perfect shape that I wanted, I just went out to smoothen it out before I bite my tongue. Okay, you guys can see that we already have our princess dart marked out already. The next thing I'm going to go ahead to do is to mark out my bust, my waist and my hips. Okay, so whatever your measurement is, just add 2 extra inches both for sewing and joining allowance. Okay, so if your bust is 7 inches, mark 9 inches because the 2 extra inches we take care of the joining allowance and also the sewing allowance for the sides. So me now, my bust is 8.5 inches. I went ahead to mark 10 inches because I added 2 extra inches to my measurement. Okay, so after doing that I just connected all my markings together. This is what we have here. Now you guys will notice that this is what we have here, guys. What you will notice is that since we marked out our measurement, it has short the length of our armhole curve. The armhole curve has been shortened. That's the length of the armhole curve has been shortened. So to take care of this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shape out my shoulder. So remember that 1 inch point. Okay, that 1 extra inch I marked. I marked my original shoulder at 8.5 inches and I went ahead to mark the 9.5 inches. So I've drawn out the 8.5 inches line again. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, you know, just go in there and, you know, reshape my armhole so that I can still have enough room and enough shape for the armhole curve. Okay, so the first line is my original shoulder point and the second line is the allowance. Okay, so after doing that, the next thing I went ahead to cut my neckline, my armhole curve. You will notice that I did not cut that reshaped armhole. Just wait for what I will do. Okay, you see what I will do. I'm not cutting it yet, but I'm still going to cut it. So I cut the first armhole curve. I went to cut the sides. Okay, so after cutting the sides, this is what we have here. The next thing I'm going to go ahead to do is I'm going to now cut, you know, that armhole curve we just shaped again. I'm going to cut it out. Good. Now you guys know that when you sew your princess dart like this, with the shoulder and the side being equal, it is going to short. Like if you've sewn a princess dart before, you notice that it shorts. So there's a little trick here, but before I show you the trick, let me just go ahead to show you how I cut it. So I'm just cutting through my bodies, you know, I'm cutting through my bodies up to my armhole side to get my princess dart shape out. So this is what we have here. Now that extra 1 inch we added at the shoulder point, I'm going to take it out. So this kind of pattern, by the time you are done sewing, this is what it looks like, guys. By the time you are done cutting the fabric and sewing it, it is going to measure up. If you're having issues with it not always measuring up, like one side is always shorting, this is the solution. Okay, so this is just how to drap the front part. The back part is a little technical, and I'm going to show you the easiest way to go about cutting it. So for the back, I already have my points marked out as well: 8 inches, 9 inches, and 13.5 inches. So to start the back part, I'm going to mark my zip allowance at 1.5 inch, and I'm going to do this to the end of the pattern paper. Then I'm going to connect my markings with a straight line. So after connecting my markings with a straight line, I'm just going to tag that place zip allowance so you will not forget. You know, sometimes you sew, you'll be like, no, I won't forget, but you will forget. So please always remember to tag. So from the top, I marked 1 inch for the neck depth and 4 inches for the neck width. Okay, then when I was done marking, I just, you know, used the freehand method and I connected the markings together. I kind of drew like a scoop neckline. You guys know this neckline is the most popular neckline when it comes to dressmaking. So after marking out my neck width, my neck dimension, my neckline, I'm going to go ahead to mark my shoulder point. So you know the drill. You mark your original shoulder point, which is 8.5 inches. Then you go ahead to mark the 9.5 inches, you know, point, and that is the one we are working with. So from there, I went down by ½ an inch. And I connected my markings with a slanted line to form my shoulder slant. Okay, then I just inserted my armhole curve. Okay, I inserted my armhole curve. So I formed my armhole curve here, guys. The next thing I'm going to go ahead to do is I'm going to mark my dart point. Okay, now for the back, we have a very technical thing to do around the dart point, so just watch me. So I'm going to mark 4 inches for my dart point, and I'm going to connect my markings with a straight line. You guys can see that the markings is starting from the 9 inches point, not the 8 inches point. So from the top, I'm going to go down by 3 inches. Then I'm just going to draw my princess dart seam into my normal basic dart point. Okay, so there's something I want you guys to know. If you are this bodice I'm marking is for a blouse, so that is why at the hem I'm taking my waist measurement, my hips measurement. If maybe I was sewing it for a gown, okay, I would have marked my waist measurement at the hem. Now I'm going to be working with millimeters here. So this is 1 cm. I'm going to take half of 1 cm, which is 1 mm. So from my under bust point, I'm going to mark 1 mm. Okay, half of a cm is 1 mm, so I'm going to mark 1 mm, 1 millimeters. This mm is doing me one kind in my mouth. I'm going to mark 1 millimeters. Then I'm also going to go to the hem of the blouse, and I'm going to mark 1 millimeters. See guys, if you notice that my tongue is twisting in this video, even me, I don't understand why my tongue is twisting. Just manage it like that for me, I beg. So after marking the 1 mm on both sides of both the under bust and the hem, I'm going to connect it like so. Okay, you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm going to connect it like so. You guys know that the back is not exactly straight, so this is sort of a way to take out the excess from the back, you know, so that when you sew it will be well relaxed. Okay, so I'm going to draw this for both sides. I'm going to connect it to the main dart line. So you don't want to take out so much. You're not trying to form a bustier here, you're just trying to take out the excess. Okay, so this is what we have here. The next thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is I'm going to mark my bust, my waist, and my hips. So whatever your measurement is, add 2 extra inches to it and you mark, or you add 2.5 extra inches to it to take care of the sewing allowance for the dart and the sewing allowance for the side seams. Okay, so I marked my bust, my waist, you know, my bust, my under bust measurement, and my hips. So if you are sewing a gown, at the hem you mark your waist. If you are sewing a blouse, at the hem you mark your hips. Okay, so that there will be this ease when you are wearing the dress, you understand. So after marking out my measurements, this is what we have here. So from the top, remember that 1 inch extra allowance we added to the shoulder point. I'm just going to mark my original shoulder point out, which is that point there. Then I'm going to go back in and reshape my armhole. You guys notice that our measurement that we've marked out has affected, you know, the length and the depth of the armhole. So I'm just going to go back in and shape my armhole. I'm just going to take it in so that I can have more room for my sleeve. So this is what we have here. So I'm just going to quickly go ahead and cut my neckline, my armhole slant, not armhole slant, my shoulder slant. I'm going to cut my armhole curve. I'm going to first of all cut the first armhole curve because I don't want to confuse you guys. I'm going to go ahead and cut the sides. Now this is where the technical part comes in. I'm going to cut the princess dart, but first of all I'm cutting just the initial line. I'm not touching the excess first. So after cutting the initial line, before you go ahead to cut the excess out. Okay, so you just want to be very careful when you are doing this so that you don't overcut and you're having something very funny at the back. Okay, so I'm going to do this for both sides. If you watched up to this point and you're enjoying this video, you enjoyed it, or you're enjoying it, anyone, hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. Okay, so this is what we have here. Then I'll just go and take out that 1 extra inch we added to the shoulder point, and I'll have like my original shoulder back. Then I'm going to take out and I'm going to shape out the armhole again. So this is what we have here. This is the back part. This is the back part. You can see that groove. This is the front part. You can see where we took out, you know, the excess for the back part, so it will be well relaxed. If you enjoyed this video, please give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. It means a lot to me. Come back for more videos and I'll see you in my next. Bye.